Okay, God, I hope the sound is recording on this. I did a call in on my phone. We don't know. Poor people who didn't make it to class. I will figure this out. Well, I'll bring an HDMI cable next time and yeah. But one person emailed me and said they weren't gonna make it. Okay, all right, whatever. Okay, so let's take a look at, oh God, I don't know any shortcuts on PCs. Jesus Christ, this is gonna be disastrous. All right, let's take a look. I've got this little map here. But let's not focus on the map right now. Let's just take a look at the by the way, at the interface. There's various ways to organize your workspace. So to make sure that we're all on the same page, let's, where'd it go? No. Okay, right here, there's an icon that I'm pointing to right up here. It looks like a window with a sidebar. Go ahead and click on that and put it on Essentials Classic. Okay, we like that one better. Just trust me, we like that one better. Okay, and so what we have here, we've got our toolbar on the side here, and we'll go over those tools, not all today, but one by one. We've got this sort of control strip up at the top. I mean, you can make that go away if you want to, but it is actually really useful for quick access to little tweaks to your graphics. Over here, we've got a bunch of icons for different panels. So like this color one, if you click on it, it pops out. And some of them, if you look to the side, they have a little arrow that you can click on and they give you even more options. So you can pop those in and out. You can always drag them off the strip and they can kind of float around in the space if you want, and then you can close them. But I lost it because I closed it, so maybe that wasn't such a good idea. I can open it back up again, yeah. I can go back to color and stick it back in there. There you go, it's back in there now. We've got another couple palettes over here. We've got our properties palette, and this is contextual. So depending on what tool we're using or what objects we're clicked on and manipulating, it's going to offer us different options. So it's just a very useful palette. There's libraries. We will get into libraries later. Basically, you can create objects of vector graphics that you completed and you want to duplicate and use in different programs. And Creative Cloud allows you to do that. We'll get into that later. But the first thing we need to know is like basically how to navigate our artboard. So the thing you're seeing in front of you, this white square with graphics, is called an artboard. The gray area, like if I were to print this, anything outside the white box is not going to be printed. The artboard contains our graphics. And there's various ways you can get around. One of them is to just zoom in and zoom out. So if you go Control or Command plus, and you press it a few times, it incrementally zooms in, and minus, as you would think, zooms out. If you, by default, you should have the main selection tool, the black arrow. That's your kind of like your default tool when you open up. If I click on something like this train over here, and then I press Option plus, it centers that graphic into the middle of the screen, so I can do it that way. I can also do Control 1, which is supposed to stand for 100%. There's Control 0, which fills the screen. I don't really know, honestly, what 100% means because, like, this is a vector graphic that's supposed to be printed. It's probably recorded in, oh, this one's in millimeters. Oh, that's insane. Usually it's in inches or points or something. But if you're designing for web, though, you're working in screen resolution. With print, we need a very high resolution. So it's going to be either 300 or 600 dpi, which means dots per inch. So if you print something out on a printer and you break it down and you cut out 1 inch of that image and you count all the dots, that's how many we get. For web, we don't need to print anything. We just need to show it on the screen. And the screen has a resolution of traditionally 72 dpi. So doing Control 1 for web-based designs makes a lot more sense than print-based designs. But you know, whatever you like. You can also do, crap, I don't know how to do it on a PC. On a Mac, it's Command spacebar. So I'm going to try Control spacebar. Oh yeah, look at that. Control spacebar, and I get this magnifying glass. And then I click and I drag. And then I drag the opposite way. So you can do that too. Now, once you are zoomed in and you want to move around the image, like right now I'm using the scroll wheel. That works good for up and down. If you're on a laptop and you have a trackpad, you could use your 2 fingers maybe. That might work depending on what you're using. But the easiest way is to hold down the space bar and just click and drag and move around. Oh, you hold shift. You hold Control. Oh. I'm just gonna let you teach this class. Oh my God. All right. All right, I'm gonna go back to Control 0 to span out. Now, sometimes if you're drawing, you might want to rotate your artboard. Right now we're looking at it straight on as it will print. But if you want to rotate your artboard, you can press H. No, not H. Shift H, sorry. Shift H, and you get this little icon here, and you can click and you can rotate. You can rotate the artboard like that. So if you're doing some drawing or something like that, this can be really helpful to get, you know, a good fix on the area you're working on. And then when you're done, you just press escape, and it goes right back to where you were. Also, if you're on a trackpad, on, I don't know about you, but on my machine, I can just 2-finger pinch, you know, squeeze and open, and that will zoom in and zoom out as well. Okay. So just play around with that, and anytime, like, I'm still in this because I hit Shift H, I'm still in this rotation tool. A quick way to get back to that default selection tool, the black arrow that we started out with, just to hit the letter V. And you'll find that really helpful a lot of times, like you just want to get out of a tool and go back to the start. V. V is what you want to hit. So let's talk about this selection tool, because basically, you know, if you can't select it, you can't do anything with it. So a lot of times we spend a lot of energy just trying to isolate the object that we want to manipulate. So with the main tool here, if I just clicked on that circle, and you'll see that I get this box around it. Okay, you'll see some points, but you'll see this box, and that's called the bounding box. This wasn't actually a part of Illustrator in the very beginning, but for many years now it's become accepted, and that bounding box has these corners that you can pick and, you know, and resize things and move things around. Sometimes there are more precise tools for resizing and rotating and scale, you know, skewing and things like that. But the bounding box, you know, as a general tool is, there's an old professor here in our program who hated the bounding box. He was like so old school. He was like, no, you have to use the rotate tool. Blah, 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 blah. It's fine. Okay. He would force students to turn the bounding box off in the preferences, and yeah, you can turn it off. Why do that? It saves so much time. So yeah. So that's one way. So I'm clicking on this word here, and it gets the bounding box. And now, you know, if I, you know, do any zooming in, it goes to the center of the screen. That's one way. Another way to select things, if you want to select more than one thing at a time, so say I wanted the word and the circle, I'm going to click on one, and I'm going to hold down Shift. I'm really not a fan of this little, like, control panel thing that shows up in this new version of Illustrator. It's really, I'm sure there's a way to turn it off, yeah. I'm going to, oh, hi, Bar. Okay, there we go. So I clicked on the word, and now I want to also select the circle. I'm going to hold down Shift and click on that. And so now notice that the bounding box goes around both of them. So if I want to move them, if I pick them up and move them, they go together. Another way to do this is to just click and drag, and it makes like a marquee triangle. and whatever shape falls inside of that triangle is going to be selected as well. So in this case, I only touched the word and the circle, but if I drag down further, oh, I didn't get the line. Maybe it's locked. It might be in a lock layer. Yeah, it's probably a lock layer. I can tell you right now. Not a problem. Not a problem. There is also, which is kind of new, there's a up in the corner here, this thing called a lasso. So when I clicked and dragged before, I got a rectangle, okay? Kind of a clumsy shape. Say I wanted to be a little more specific about what I'm selecting. I could choose this lasso tool here, and this is something that will become familiar to you in Photoshop, but then I get to draw any kind of shape I want, and I can select, and now I've just, all it's selected is the things that I encompassed within that lasso shape that I made. So just the last few letters of that word, and then the word pen and TO with the lasso tool. I've not used this much. It's fairly new to Illustrator, but I can see its usefulness. I'm down with it. It's cool. I'll do that. Yeah, so that's your basic navigation, just getting around. You know, Control 0, Control or Command plus and minus, trackpad gestures, whatever you're comfortable with to get around the screen. Zooming in and zooming out. So what I want us to do today is just go over the basic shapes. We're not going to get into the pen tool today. We'll do that on Thursday. But basic shapes, you know, is a good start. So let's start a new file. So if we go up to File menu, and we choose New, and A4 letter, web large, I'm going to stick to the, say American, go with the letter. And then over here, there's a drop-down menu that lets you choose your preferred units of measurement. It shows up as points. If I'm doing web stuff, I'm going to go with pixels. I don't really think of things in points so much. I mean, I think of type in points, but not overall shapes and stuff like that. So I'm going to go with, if I were doing a billboard or something, I guess I'd go with feet or yards or something. But I think inches is appropriate here, so I'm going to switch this to inches. You can switch it from portrait or landscape mode. We can increase our artboards. We'll go over that in another class, but for now we'll just do one artboard. We're not going to worry about bleed. If the color mode is set to CMYK, we'll talk about color in another class, but basically CMYK is your color space for printing, you know, ink on paper. RGB is your color space for screen, pixels, red, green, blue. CMYK stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. I don't know why they don't use B for black, but there you go. Might. Yeah, and we've got it set at 300 PPI or DPI, same thing. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click create. And I've got a brand new artboard. Okay, so we've got some basic shapes built into Illustrator that we can use. We can also create our own shapes, and we'll learn how to do that too. So let's start with the basic shapes that are offered. So over here on the side in our toolbar, notice that some of these icons, these tools, have a little arrow in the bottom right corner. That means there's other tools hidden behind that icon. So if I click and hold, I get this drop down. And if I scoot over to the side, there's this little strip on the side here. If I release the mouse there, it tears off those options and puts them into a floating palette, which can be very useful. Okay, so the first one up here is the rectangle shape. Okay, obviously, when you're first starting out, you realize you can just click and drag and make a rectangle. Woohoo! All right. There's other ways to do it. If I click and drag while holding down the Shift key, I get a perfect square. It maintains proportion. Okay. If I click and drag while holding down the Alt or Option key, it draws it from the center out. That can be very useful. If I click and drag and hold down both the Alt and the Shift, I get a square from the center out. Again, very useful. There's also a shape up here next to the rectangle that's a rounded rectangle tool. That tool is kind of pointless because I can just take this rectangle that I just drew and turn it into a rounded rectangle. I just have to grab these little bullets, these little dots in the corner, and I automatically, when I hover over it, I see an arc. I just grab that, click and drag down, and yes, I can make it. So I don't know why they have two separate tools for that, but so I can make a rounded rectangle tool that way. But with any of these tools, there is always a way to do it sort of more mathematically. So if I have the rectangle tool selected, and instead of dragging, I just click, I get this dialog box, and I can actually just type in exactly the dimensions. So if you have a very specific dimension, which is very often the case, if you have a very specific dimension, you can just type it in and you can be very precise, and it draws me an exact 3x2 rectangle. And you can do that with virtually any drawing tool. Okay, moving on to the ellipse tool. Works very similar to the rectangle tools. Click and drag, you just make a circle. Click, hold Shift, you get a perfect circle. Hold down the Alt key, you draw from the middle. hold down the Alt and the Shift, and you draw a perfect circle from the middle, and everyone loves it. Yes. So they have the same properties. Okay. Moving on to the next tool is the polygon tool. Okay. See what happens if we just click and drag. We get a, what is that, a hexagon? Hexagon, let's click. Now, these don't skew, they automatically are symmetrical. Okay, so you don't have to hold down Shift. I mean, if you hold down Shift, then it'll, yeah, it straightens it out. So it's, you know, it's not completely useless. But the other thing is, what if I didn't want a hexagon? What if I wanted an octagon or a triangle or something like that? I have options. I could just, instead of dragging, I could just click, and then I get this dialog box, and I could say how many sides I want. Oh, wait, let's go down. Let's do a triangle. Okay, we're going to do 3 sides. Okay, and it builds me that. Or a keyboard way to do it is while you're dragging, hit the up and down buttons. Hit the up and down buttons, arrows on the keyboard, and it will keep adding or subtracting the number of sides of your shape. And again, you have the option of rounding the corners. There's still, you could turn it into a circle if you wanted to. I don't know why you wouldn't just make a circle to begin with, but okay. We like options. We like options. So, you know, that's there too. So I've got my hexagon. So you can make polygons that way. Okay. And then we've got the star tool, which is another like multi-sided kind of shape. And it's similar to the polygon in that if you start hitting the up and down arrows, you can add more or fewer spikes to the polygon. And some other, forgetting of some, there's some other shortcuts to like how far in the inner points go. Yeah, you can, I can always go here. I could round it out that way, you know, if I wanted to. I could round this here. I could make some really interesting shapes. Ooh, it looks like a sea creature. That's kind of cool. It's that. Look what I made. I want to keep that. I want to tattoo that. Totally. What does this do? Oh, what? Just play with it. I mean, I learn stuff every day. Like, would just be like, what's that thing? Let's pick on it. Oh yeah. All right. That's your star tool. We've also got this thing here, okay? White elephant in the room. This. Flare tool. Okay. All right. They put this in Illustrator over 10 years ago. I don't know what they were thinking. I've never seen anyone ever actually use this. It's supposed to create lens flare. It makes no sense. It's just, and then you go like that, and then you get this lens flare effect. I've never seen anyone actually use this tool. I mean, it's just, at what meeting did they sit down and think this was a good idea? Yeah, so it's there. You know, I won't dock you points if you use this on an assignment, but use it well if you do. You better be good. Better be good. Yeah. All right. Okay, so those are your basic shapes. I should also go over stacking order. So here I'm going to make a square, and then on top of that, I'm going to put a circle, and then on top of that, I'm going to put a star. Okay, so we've got some layering going on here. If you notice, they're layered in the order in which I drew them. Okay, so I do this, you know, it's just like laying pieces of paper down on the table. Like the first one you lay down is going to be on the bottom. That's exactly what happened. But we can control this. We can change their position. There's a few ways to do it. If I wanted this rectangle to come to the top, I could right click on it. Can I? Okay. Where is it? Arrange. Yes, arrange. It's under arrange. I could say bring to front or bring forward. So if I said bring forward, it would come one level up in the stacking order. So now it's on top of the circle. If I, let me undo that. If I said arrange, bring to front, it would come to the top. The shortcuts for these are control square bracket. To bring to front, send to back. Bring to front, send to back. Control or command square brackets. Those are the ones next to the letter P on your keyboard. That's stacking order. We can also draw with lines. So this tearaway palette that I made with the basic shapes, I'm going to close that. And over here, you're just going to see a line. I think the shortcut key for that is backslash. I'm going to click and hold, and then I'm going to go over to this little side strip and release. And now I've got that palette to work with. Okay. So drawing a line is, you know, same rules apply. I can just click and drag. The line is 2 points connected. So I've made it a line. If I click and drag and hold the shift key, it constrains it to 45 degrees. So as I move the mouse around, it shifts to up, down, or 45 degrees. And then again, if I hold down Alt or Option, I can draw from the center. I can hold Shift, do that fancy stuff, and draw a line. There's also this curved line. I have not used this much, but I think it could be very useful. Usually I draw my curves with the pen tool, but this seems like a nice option. So basically, click and drag and you get a nice well-proportioned arc. If I hold down Shift, it sticks to the corners and it's like more like a circle. I think if I use my arrows up and down, I get more or less of a curvature to that. So I can do that as well. And if I hit F, it flips it. So if I want it to be one way or another, I can just hit F and it flips it over. And then again, you can always, if you know the exact, specifics of the line you want to draw, I could just click and I get this dialog box that gives me shape, and then I can control the slope, concave or convex. So I can drag this slider here and hit OK, and it draws me an arc. Like I said, we will learn other ways to draw arcs. We're going to learn all about Bezier curves. You're going to get so good at Bezier curves one time. Oh my God. I have an assignment for you. All right. Okay. We got a fancy little spiral tool here. Never used it before, but it was pretty cool to me. Use your up and down arrows to add or delete line segments. There's something else you can do there. Oh, R. If you hit R, it reverses it. If you want it to go in the other direction, you can hit R. That's all I can remember about that. Honestly, I've never used it. But maybe I will someday, Okay. Another tool. Maybe I've never used it because it's kind of new. I always built my own grids, but there's this grid drawing tool next to the spiral, and it draws you a grid of lines. And while you're dragging, up and down arrows adds more or less lines horizontally, side to side arrows, more or less lines vertically. Hold down Shift and you get a perfect square. There's also a way to skew these lines. So while you're dragging, if you hit C, if they start to get some sort of like hue or perspective to them, they spread out on one side and get tighter on the other side. V is for the vertical for that. So you can make a grid that looks something like this. This is a nice tool. Like back in the day, this wasn't available. I would have had to build this from scratch using the line tool and, calculating the distance between all of the lines. This is kind of nice. It does it for you automatically. F will flip it. Wait, what? X? Oh, reduces it. Okay, so it's the opposite of C and V. It goes back to proportional. Okay. So basically, this is a complex shape. So if we broke this shape apart, we would discover that it's basically a rectangle grouped with a whole bunch of lines. It's just making your life a little bit easier by doing all the calculations for you. Okay. And then we have this polar grid tool. Could be, useful for infographics or something like that. Again, up and down arrows increases the number of circles that you can make. Side to side increases or decreases. You know, you could have no lines through it and just have a whole bunch of circles. That's pretty cool. And I think you can also do the skewing. Yeah, C and yeah, just C does some skewing there. So you can create something that has a little more dimension. It looks like you're looking down on something from the top. Like a piece of pottery or something like that. Or a bocce ball. Or, so those are those two menus. So your basic shapes and your line tools. And we went over stacking order. And any questions? I haven't even asked if you had any questions. Sorry, am I going too fast? Can you see on those little screens? All right. All right, I promise I'll bring we'll get an HDMI cable for next Thursday. Okay, that is all I wanted to go over today. On Thursday, we will start exploring the pen tools. So, you know, as we look at these items, just if I click on them like this, you see all of these points here. We're going to learn more about those. Those are called anchor points. And we're going to learn how you can actually go in and create your own shapes, set your own anchor points, or make a shape and then manipulate it. You know, it doesn't have to be the way Illustrator, you know, sent it to you. You know, we'll learn Bezier curves, which is kind of the foundation of vector graphics. Is Bezier curves. It's a sort of a mathematical calculation of whatever kind of beautiful curve you want to make. But there's good ways to do it, and there's crappy ways to do it. And I'm going to teach you the good way. So, there are ugly curves out there. I'm sorry. I've seen them. And there's rules. There's rules of thumb for, you know, how you proportion the points and the handles and things like that. Do you guys have any questions about this course in general at all? That's great. We didn't really go over the syllabus. It's kind of basic. Yeah. It's not a drawing course. Yeah, this is learning about how the tools will let you draw. Yeah. I'm not a figure or anything like that. I mean, I do paint and drawing and on my own, but only if you want to. No. What is that? Is that drawing? Oh yeah. So I like big palette that serves as an outfit. I didn't know that you could I kept it on my lap. Yeah, I don't, okay, so good point, make sure you log out of your Creative Cloud account. I don't know about this classroom, I usually teach in wipes everything out.
It doesn't.
It doesn't?
It does not.
Okay, but yeah, make sure you do that, cause you don't want someone messing around with your files, for sure. Sure, okay, she's gonna show you how to log
Do you
out.
wanna save this? Yeah. Okay, so I'll just close this and not save. So if you go to this little arrow key right here, you will open your Creative Cloud account. And then you just click your icon and you click sign out and then continue. And you just double check to make sure you're logged out, because people will come in and they'll see that you're logged in and they'll be like, oh, best case scenario, they'll be like, well, now I have to log in out. Worst case scenario, they'll be like, your work is mine.
Yeah. Wow, that doesn't happen in my other classroom. When they shut down, they
Drawings and all those, everything, like, the things you can computer are in one of those.
we have drawing tablets?
I think, like, the ones where you, like, equip it to your computer. I think one of my teachers said that it is one of them. It might be in the lock.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't even have a key to this room, so hopefully we'll get in each week, you know.
I feel like you should probably get.
Probably I've been given a key.
Oh.
Okay, let me, log out of
Make sure
Zoom.
to sign out of everything, and it automatically signs you out.